MVP player. Am I saying he will be the MVP this year? I'm not necessarily saying that, but what I am saying is that if he plays at a high level, which I fully expect with this type of balance around him, the Colts will take it to the next level in the playoffs.
Well, those are two different things, and so I'm going to sort of drill down with you a little bit on that if I can. It's one thing for him to play well. It's another thing for him to be what he was then. Is he going to be that guy? Because he was the MVP of the league that year before he got hurt. Is he going to be that guy in this offense, Torrey?
Yes, you're going to see that step. And Dominique Fosbury, I stand here on behalf of Dan Orlovsky leading this fan club. Carson Wentz is going to ball out this year. And I can't wait to rub it in Dominique's face later on down the year. But seriously, the balance is there, and he's going to play well.
That's what I was looking for. Neat, go.
Torrey, I love you, and you are really good at this, and I'm so proud of you. It upsets me how good you are at this already. However, let me give you a little advice. When you're sitting starts with, I agree with Dan Orlovsky, you're wrong. Like, that's a bad way to start a conversation. That's a really bad way to start a conversation. So you don't need to learn much from me, but I hope you internalize that little tidbit. But as far as Carson Wentz being MVP caliber, like, that is a stretch. I think this situation is perfect for Carson Wentz. I am higher on Carson Wentz, or the idea of Carson Wentz, right now than I have been in a long time. Now, I was going to say in part because of, but no, totally because of the situation that he's entering, because they are not going to ask him to be MVP level quarterback. Yes. They are not expecting that from him. He's in a situation where a lot of other things around him will take the pressure off of him. And we've done a lot of psychoanalysis of Carson Wentz. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But I think that is the most important part. And he's going somewhere where he feels comfortable with the coach. He feels comfortable with some of the players. He feels comfortable with the protection. I think that takes a great psychological burden off of him, and we may see a better version of Carson Wentz, but he was like the worst quarterback in the league last year. Now you talk about he about to be MVP level? That is some Dan Orlovsky level nonsense.
Marcus, I'm pushing back on you because I heard you yelling yes. Bottom line is, this team is that good. I mean, the Eagles team he was on in 2017 was good enough to win a Super Bowl without him. This team is that good. Why is it unrealistic to think in a similar offense with the same coaching that he can't be that good again?
Because he's not going to be asked to be that good, G. They're not going to put this on Carson Wentz's plate. Look, we got this whole thing wrong with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz 2017 MVP season, great. But when we look at Philly and we look at what we expected from Carson Wentz was to put that team on his back and carry him. And at times he did. But now we have this year, as a sample size, offensive line was bad. Talked about the weapons, the injuries to the wide receiver. All of that stuff we know played into Carson Wentz not having a level of success. But Carson Wentz had a lot to do with that as well. And I think Frank Reich understands that as well as anybody. He looked at the situation in Indy and he said, we do not have to have Carson Wentz come here and be an MVP level quarterback. We need Carson Wentz to be an above average quarterback, and we feel like everything else around him is good enough for us to make noise in the playoffs and potentially be a Super Bowl contending team. Here's what I do believe. I do believe, because of what I saw with Baker Mayfield, that Carson Wentz will be better this year. I also believe that there is something to Carson Wentz's mental game when it comes to him being around Frank Reich and that familiarity. So I expect him to play well. But when we start talking about MVP, like, I think the MVP threw 48 touchdowns. How many touchdowns did Aaron Rodgers throw this year, y'all? 48? Y'all think Carson Wentz is going to be in the conversation for an MVP when that dude in Kansas City, that dude in Green Bay, and Deshaun Watson potentially being on another team, Russell Wilson as well, and Carson not going to be asked to do as much for his team as they are? And Torrey, you and Dan Orlovsky going to say he going to be the MVP, or he going to be in that conversation? Please, stop it. Stop
Go ahead,
it.
Torrey. I'm on your side. You've got plenty of support here, Torrey. Fire back at him.
No.
I mean, listen, it's easier to perform when you're not carrying weight. So you guys are trying to knock a guy based on the situation, saying that he had to carry the team in Philadelphia. Well, I will tell you this, quarterbacks perform better when they don't have that burden. Look at what happened in Kansas City. We talked all year, Patrick Mahomes, who I believe is the best player in the NFL, how he looked when his weapons are just out there thriving and having that balance. He's not asked to be Superman there. They had that environment for him to thrive. Now, you put a quarterback in a different situation, a.k.a. the Super Bowl that we just watched, when the offensive line wasn't there, he didn't look the same, even though he threw the two best incompletions I've ever seen in my life. But the reality of it is your environment for a quarterback allows you to perform and to be that star. Carson Wentz is now placed in an environment where he can get back to that MVP form. So I'm not ready to run to Vegas with it, but I am telling you, respect will be put on his name this season. Take that to the bank.
Yeah, I'm calling an audible. I'm keeping it here. Dominique, he doesn't have to be the MVP to be playing at an MVP level. And I will ask you a question. Has he forgotten how to play? I mean, he's still young. He's in the back of the offense. The team fell apart around him. Did he forget how to play because he had one bad year?
It sure looked like it. It sure looked like when you were watching those games and he was spinning around in the pocket, throwing interceptions directly to the Browns. It was outrageous. So I'm not going to say he forgot how to play, but of course you don't have to win the MVP to play at an MVP level because we've been calling that 2017 season the MVP level. He didn't even win it that year. So y'all need to stop putting all this pressure on this man. I am excited. I'm interested for what he's going to become. I think he's in the best situation he's been in a long time. But when you start putting those three letters close to each other near Carson Wentz's name, I get agitated. MVP is not something that we should be considering for him. Make the playoffs, maybe get a playoff win. That'll be good. Be top half of the league by QBR. That'll be nice. Let's take some baby steps to get back closer to what we hoped Carson Wentz would be, because y'all tripping on this. You and Carson are friends. I know Dan and Carson are friends. You're letting your heart get in the way. Don't let your personal feelings get in the way with your analysis. You say so many smart things and somehow end up on a ridiculous conclusion that involves three letters that don't belong anywhere near Indianapolis right now, and those are MVP.
But I'll give you more important words that might wind up with them. And first of all, you're doing what you always hate when other people do. You're just completely making up facts at this point. You know he would have been the MVP if he didn't tear up his knee diving into the end zone against the Rams early in December that season. He absolutely would have been the MVP. So he got hurt. And second of all, he doesn't have to win the MVP, but Marcus, if he plays like that, you tell me right now the Colts can't win the AFC. With that defense, with that, all the weapons he's got around him, but the Colts are a legit Super Bowl contender in the AFC.
You can't come at me and then go to Marcus. You can't come at me and then go to Marcus. Marcus, you stop it. You stop it. He gonna come at me and then go to you. So first of all, I didn't make up a fact. I stated a fact. He did not win the MVP. So that is not making a fact. That is true. Second of all, of course, if he could play like that, but that's unsustainable. He was converting third and longs at a percentage that we don't see anybody other than Patrick Mahomes do with consistency. He's never gonna do that again. That is called luck. And I didn't make up no facts. Now, Marcus, say whatever you got to say.
Allie is counting us all out. I already went 6 minutes over on this conversation, but it was worth it, and we'll come back to it as we continue because Marcus needs to yell at somebody. Meanwhile.